The organization's name is German Marshall Fund of the United States. The part of the program which deals with leadership development of young professionals is called Marshall Memorial Fellowship, and that is the reason why I'm here. I'm a member of this year's fellowship group. I was one of the lucky ones who had an opportunity to travel to the United States. We're about 20 Europeans traveling around different federal states in the US. We have about the same amount of Americans now in Europe, visiting different European cities. And the idea of the project and the program, it's as such, is to develop sort of transatlantic relations, foster these relations on both sides of the Atlantic.
This fellowship program is basically a transatlantic exchange program in a way, in which out of 700 candidates, 20 plus Europeans and 20 plus US citizens are chosen to basically go through a 6-month training process. And following that training, we have the high point of the fellowship, which is a 24-day tour, in our case as Europeans to the US and vice versa.
I've arrived in Washington with all the other fellows, Washington DC. We spent there 5 days, 2 of them with the American fellows, and it was great to meet them, maybe too short. I would have really liked to spend a little bit more time with them as well. And then we split into 3 groups. I went to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now I'm here in Spanish Fork. And tomorrow I'm flying to Seattle, Washington, and then back to New York City.
The purpose from the German Marshall Fund is to foster transatlantic relationships. And for us to really foster those kind of relationships between the US and Europe, we need to know each other. We need to understand each other, understand our different cultures, and most importantly, to find our similarities, and there are many. And so as soon as we arrived at the airport, the city manager, Seth, and his assistant, Tyler, were there greeting us, and they've been extraordinary throughout the whole of the trip, and I have to say that off the bat. Really supportive in making sure that we feel comfortable, and we do feel at home.
We don't get to stay with host families in any other federal state we're visiting, so that's very different. And it makes you feel more connected to the local community. I had a wonderful, every fellow calls their host family as foster parents. You're part of their life, their habits, their work. They didn't act differently, so they live their life in the very same way they do every day. If I were to have a host family anywhere, it would be a Spanish Fork, because that's that community life that you live in and you can't experience otherwise. So I think that's very wise, smart decision to leave us with host families.
Being able to stay at the host family was very, very nice, because it's always different to a hotel. It's not that kind of personal when you stay in the hotel, and you could see how the people live. And by the way, our host family, but I think the others as well, were very friendly. They were very good hosts to us, and I really enjoyed the time being at their house with their families, and even to exchange some thoughts about things and about life in Utah or life in Europe. It was a great experience, and I would not like to miss a homestay within this fellowship program.
Friday morning, the fellows came to City Hall, where our department heads were able to share with them how our city operates, and the fellows were able to ask some incredible questions.
We were very thankful to meet with a number of city representatives on different areas, different issues. So that gave us a very good start of the entire journey in Spanish Fork, a good insight of what are different concerns, what are the policies that the city has to manage, from roads, transportation, to quality of life, recreation, construction, and all different aspects which are all dealt within the City Hall.
As a mayor and city manager, I totally react different to all that kind of informations. I try to soak up everything and to compare it all the time, with what we are doing at home, right, in my town. So I try to find out what I could do better at home and what are the differences, how you organize yourselves. And what I think that's outstanding is that you are totally self-governing community. Like, you organize more or less everything by yourself. In Germany, it's pretty much the same, but we try to incorporate with other communities. So I really was surprised that you have TV station, or you already developed more or less a fiber net, a broadband system. So from my point of view, I think you're far ahead in that points or in that themes in comparison to Europe communities or communities from Europe, but even to US communities. I think you really live your slogan Pride and Progress because you're far ahead than others, I think.
I was a deputy mayor in my city, which is a 200,000 people population city, 20 minutes from Lisbon, which is Portugal's capital. And so, and a lot of my political experience is on the local level. So listening to them resonated with a lot of things we were doing back home and with a lot of the challenges. And what I find fascinating, and I think it says a lot about the human nature, we all want better communities for ourselves, for our children, for our grandchildren. At the end of the day, that's what we're all fighting for. And I think we share, once again, those common values of wanting a stronger and more progressive community for us to be able to feel safe for our kids and feel that they can have all the opportunities they need and are deserving to have.
The police dog was really, that was a surprise. Nobody expected we're going to be exposed to a real policeman with a real dog, talking about the way what he does in the city, how he works, what different sort of crimes or areas he has to cover. I think you wouldn't see this often in our countries, in our cities. It was very interesting what he said about the drugs problems and how helpful a dog can be. We've been discussing this quite a lot over previous days in different cities, but we've never seen a real impact, how this can work, how the fight against drug and drug addicts can work on the ground.
We had a police demonstration. I think that was one of the high points where one of the members of the police force from the K9 unit came in with a dog, and they had actually planted some drugs at one of the fellows' seats. I don't know how he's getting off that one, but the dog actually found the drugs, and they showed how the dog works and how the dog does his thing. And so that was more the fun side of it, but also learning how I had no idea in a K9 unit how the police officer has actually a button on his belt to, if he's with the suspect and something goes wrong, he can press the button. It opens the door of the car, and the dog comes to his safety. And I was telling this to some people here at Spanish Fork, and they didn't know. So maybe this is public service, letting people know that they have a police force they can trust.
After lunch, we had the opportunity to take them to the fairgrounds, where they were able to see what it's like to be in a rodeo. Many of them had never ridden a horse before, and we gave each of them an opportunity to ride.
I'm not a Spanish Fork cowboy. I'm not a cowboy. I mean, I enjoyed riding. It was nice. I've done before, but our experiences with semi-automatic horses. So you just go there and they know where to go. Actually, you think you're driving them, but you're not. And it was nice. It was nice. I've never done that. And it was both easier and harder than I thought. I was really scared at first, but then it was nice.
I have to say, after riding the horses, I was clearly not qualified to become a cowboy. My talents have been used otherwise. We did meet real cowboys, and that was a real fun experience. We got to do some horseback riding, and for me it was an extremely fun experience. Some of my colleagues actually caught on very quickly, so that was good to see. And the next day we were pretty sore on the legs, so still feeling it. I'm taking that from Spanish Fork.
So it hasn't been my first experience. I've been riding horses when I was a little kid. It was one of my favorite times of the week and the weekends. So I came, it brought me lots of memories from my childhood, so it was really nice. And that experience, to be on a horse again, and I think this is one of the most exciting cities we've been so far, because it's really well combined with activities which are part of the city's traditions or character. So it really feels different when you ride a horse in a city for which it's very common, it's very natural, it's very traditional, than if you were doing the same in many people ride horses in Brussels, in Bratislava, in capital cities, but it never feels the same. So we're sort of, at least for a while, feeling like cowboys of the Spanish fork, and it felt really nice. I think everyone really enjoyed it. We had some fellows who have never ride a horse before and were afraid, but I think that helped them to sort of get out of their comfort zone, and I think everyone really loved it afterwards. So that's one of our best experience we could have.
Oh, it was really nice. The horse, first of all, I would like to thank you for that opportunity, because it's not usual that you get to know those kind of things during a fellowship program. So I really appreciate that. It was really nice. I'm used to horses, but they're different to ride in style and how they react here. But I really enjoyed that. And they're able to make very quick turns. So that was nice.
Some people may wonder why Spanish Fork. All these other big cities, the fellows get to go and explore, and then they come to, in comparison, little old Spanish Fork. This means so much to our city because it gives us an opportunity to learn from not only people in our own community or in our own country, but from the world. And we feel very privileged to have these fellows with us.
The community in Spanish Fork is certainly more sort of I wouldn't say inclusive, but stick more together. You have very strong sense for community and for help to each other. Parents meet often, kids meet often. The church is a very important part of the city. You wouldn't get this in Bratislava, which is sort of, it's not very big town of 500,000 people, but still, it's a town of a different mixture of people, religion. You don't really have the sense of community, so there's more sort of based on individuality of everyone. You don't have that in the Spanish Fork that much. You have people who have family lives, they have their own work, they can do farming, they can work in services, in sports, in broadcasting. But it all somehow gets connected at certain point. So you can find some common grounds. In Bratislava, in capital city, it's much more difficult if you want to belong to some kind of community.
I enjoyed most about Spanish Fork the engagement of the city staff to show us around, to tell us a lot of answers about all our questions we had, and beside that, the hosts, the family that hosted us, that was the greatest experience at all, I think.
I can't say that I didn't have a fun time in Spanish Fork, and so that is no doubt some of the highlights of the trip. But to get to know the real America, you know, it's only when you get here and you talk with the people and you go to the restaurants and you meet the people at the church or in other community events. You get that real sense of what people are truly thinking. And having been up in Boston and Washington itself is a bubble, right? You have all of the political enterprises around it, and so here you get a real sense of what the people feel and sense and think. We had a lot of discussions around politics, and not only state politics but also national politics. I had an unfair preconceived notion that people would be more resistant to discuss more sensitive issues, and everything was valid. They would discuss any topic we would bring to the table in a very openly way, and I found, unlike what one might think of a conservative community as one can find here, I found very progressive thinking people, and people willing to learn a lot and wanting to move forward. And pride and progress is the motto here of Spanish Fork, and I understand that, and I understand why, because people are truly proud of their past, of their community, but they want to see them continue to grow and to learn from others, and so I think that those are the highlights, I would say, what I take out of Spanish Fork. Utah in general provides such a unique experience for us Europeans. We don't come here as a normal destination. And to get that true sense of America with all of the particularities that the state and the city of Spanish Fork have to offer, I think it's a unique experience, and I'm absolutely certain that the group of 7 fellows that spent these days here will never forget.